Hey there, beautiful souls. I'm Colynn Hlokoff.
And I'm Meridee Hlokoff.
And welcome to Spiritual Sisters with Sass, the podcast where two sisters with a passion for spirituality and a touch of sass come together to explore the exciting world of self-improvement.
That's right, Colynn. We embarked on this incredible journey together, diving into different self-improvement techniques, yoga practices, and a whole array of life experiences.
Yeah, and through it all, we've managed to create lives that are abundant, happy, and constantly evolving. It's been a wild ride, hasn't it, Meridee?
You bet, sis. We've got two very different perspectives on life, but that's what makes this podcast so special. I'm all about diving in head first into life's adventures and embracing every challenge with a bit of sass. While Colynn here, she's got her own unique approach.
Yep, that's me. And I'm all about the yoga, mindfulness, and finding my zen. And together we make the perfect balance.
So whether you're looking for some wisdom, a few laughs, or just some heartfelt stories, you're in the right place. We're here to share our personal experiences and insights with you, all while exploring the wild and diverse world of self-improvement.
So grab your headphones and get ready for a fantastic journey with us. Spiritual Sisters with Sass is here to uplift, inspire, and keep it real.
Thanks for tuning in, lovely listeners. Let's dive in.
Spirit and sass. Here we go.
Welcome, everybody, to today's podcast of Spiritual Sisters with Sass. Today, we are talking with Lynn and I about coaching, core values, how we have become better coaches by coaching each other, how when we're coaching people, we are actually coaching ourselves at the same time, and how much that surfaces for us, that when we're teaching you, we're teaching ourselves. So Lynn, go ahead. Let's get started with you. Let's talk about what we were talking about earlier about how you feel like our dynamic has shifted over the last few years.
Yeah, for sure. I would say more recently, like for sure, based on me just even asking for help, because that's something that I haven't done really ever, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I found myself calling you in hard times. For like advice for mix match. I remember calling you one time, and I think we always do a check-in before we do our podcast. And I was at a retreat center, and I remember just breaking down. And then I was like telling you what was going on, and you were inputting, and I remember myself getting annoyed. Like, I know I've done this. Yeah, I know I've tried this. And then I was like, listen, because I was like, well, why am I being annoyed right now? And then I remember, oh yeah, because like right now I just need my sister.
Yeah.
And I said that, and you're like,
us
you're like, okay.
Yeah.
And that was it. You just like listened.
I feel like that has really shifted us now when we start with the, hey, let's talk. Okay, do you need me to be your sister? Do you need me to be your coach? And even then when we don't know, our answer is, I don't know yet. So let's get started, and I'll tell you if you're pissing me off or not. But I also feel like this podcast has really helped you. I was going to say gotten you to, but neuro-linguistic programming here, folks.
Supported me.
It supported you in opening yourself up and really feeling more of your feelings. I've noticed in the stuff that we've talked about, you've really, at the beginning, it was very like, you were very guarded, you were very cautious. You didn't want people to think certain things of you. And over the last little while, you've been like, well, this is who I am. Well, this is how I feel, regardless of how that may affect other people. And so you're really opening up with me and with this. Like, I know when we're private, I have to dig a little bit deeper to get you to open up, but prior to this. But with the podcast, you've just kind of like started to like, okay, well, here's my vulnerability. Here it is. You don't like it? Don't fucking listen to it.
Yeah, I appreciate that feedback. I mean, yes, everything's always so divine. So on top of this, like I've been put in a place that's like, forced me to look at things. I don't have to. And then you entered coaching, which then like started up the standards again. And what I noticed is I actually haven't had my own coach since I was working with Bob Proctor.
Yeah.
And so my own standards have been decreasing. And then we get on conversations and have conversations about that. And then I really have opened and just like, oh shit. Literally, that's how I felt lately. Oh shit. So you know, share a little bit with me about like, what are my core values? And I'm like, I mean, core values. I've been in business courses forever. And when you were like, I'm surprised you don't have any, I started thinking about like, why? Because Tony Robbins totally talks about this stuff. What I found is that I don't, I say, when people say, what are you? I say, I'm a yoga teacher. That's what I say. And you're like,
And how many
don't
times have
listen to
I
her.
Yes, I have been with her and we're out and she's like, I'm a yoga teacher. I'm like, she just downgrades herself all the time because and I'm not insulting yoga teachers when I say this, but she's not just a yoga teacher. She's a yoga teacher's teacher. So she teaches yoga teachers and certifies them. She's a business and personal or life coach. And she's a yoga teacher's coach. Like, there's so many levels to this that she's like, I'm a yoga teacher. I'm like, fuck off with your yoga teacher. You are so much more than that. And when you say I'm a yoga teacher, people just, oh yeah, she's a fitness coach, and like move on.
Well, then we start working on core value. I started working on core values, and you wrote back, you support people in awakening or finding out who they truly are. That's what you said. And so when you said that, I was like, shit, you know, you have resonated with these teachings and you found ways to share about like what you do and who you support. And you're very passionate about supporting people in their addictions. So I find that you easily find these words and I haven't. And I think that's my own shadow of thinking I'm a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Right? I have no right to say that I am anything. So when you write that back to me, I go, oh shit, like it's true. And I do believe that I support people in waking up to who they truly are through the teachings of yoga. And whoa, now listen to that. That sounds 100% different than I'm a yoga
Yes.
teacher, right?
Yes.
So
Like,
I was
that's a powerful statement right there.
right.
I support people in figuring out who they are through the powers, who they truly are through the teachings of yoga.
And so I've just like, I've
Oh.
avoided this because of my mindset, because of the subconscious beliefs of like who I think I am, which is, it's so funny that essentially that's what I do. And I haven't woken up to who I truly am. So amazing. Thank you for this moment. And like, also, that's why I avoided it way back when we were learning it, and I continued to build my business. And so then I started watching some videos on core values to understand this a little more. And, you know, even the person whose video I was watching says quite specifically, I've built 4 businesses and had no core values. And yes, I made money, but I lost them all. So now my business is built on core values. My staff are involved and engaged in the core values. I hold people accountable as a part of the core values. And that's when I realized, well, no wonder that I am currently in my own dip specifically.
And not only our staff and our teams that we're working with, but the people and clients we work with have to align with my core values. You need to understand who I am and where I'm coming from in order to be able to work with me. And that's why my core values have to be such a major player in it.
I gotta be honest. I immediately went to ChatGPT, told ChatGPT what's important to me, and then had my core values created for me.
I mean,
and
way to sidestep, just did.
I know, because then I was running one day, and that's, you know, I spend a lot of time running. I'm training for a marathon, so I spend sometimes just like minimum an hour, you know, sometimes 2-3 hours running. And so I have a lot of time, and I've been listening to these videos and listening to a lot of books. And you know, one of it is like, what's a hill that you will die on? And I can't make these values for my business and not have them personally. And while some of them are like, it was like, oh, inclusivity, fuck yeah, you know, authenticity, fuck yeah. But like, if you ask me, I think vulnerability and authenticity align. And I would say that vulnerability might be more of a core value
behavior.
now
And a behavior.
because I have been authentic, but I haven't been vulnerable. Like I've been
Yes.
sharing shit that people find vulnerable, but it's not because I've already worked through it. And I can say it without any emotion and I'm totally fine. So I'm like, yes, I'm being authentic, but I'm not being vulnerable. I'm sharing what I'm safe with sharing. So
Yes.
I'm running and I'm
Podcast
just
is
like,
an example
yeah,
of this.
yes. So I'm just running and like, holy shit, no wonder. And then I'm thinking about like, well, something that like that shows up in my life everywhere is be impeccable with your word. Neurolinguistic programming, you know, like what people say, I take that at face value. You are your word. So you know
Mm-hmm.
what hill I'm going to die on? You know what someone can't fucking sell or buy from me is this alignment or integrity with my word. And that I want people coming into my life that have integrity with their word. And I truly believe has been happening since literally this is like a month of time. Core
Mm-hmm.
values, because I'm clearing those out for modern yoga teacher, I'm clearing them out for friction, I'm clearing them out in my own personal life. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I haven't had core values like on top of it is integrity. If I say something, I'm going to do it. And I
Yep.
haven't been in integrity. And so everything's been slipping. So of course, once I'm not meditating, I'm not doing my ice baths, like my
Once
discipline
we
is,
slip one, we start to slip all.
yeah.
And literally it can be, and it typically for me will start at my core value. If I let go of a core value, that starts to slip everywhere else. And just to share with you guys, I'm gonna go to my website, because if you don't believe me, I have them listed on my website because core values are that important to me. And I
Mhm.
want you to go through my website and see who the hell is this person and what the hell is she talking about. So, and you can't just say, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but for me, my core values need some definition. So when I say to you, one of my core values is trust, I then go in and explain why and how that works for us. So you can trust us. The addiction recovery process involves real vulnerability. That fact alone dissuades many people from ever entering a success-driven program. And that's why you can trust us. Honest and integral. So similar to what you're saying stay in integrity. I'm saying integral and honest, because those two go hand in hand. So what I say in here is because I'm sure you people listening have seen and heard that I don't filter shit. I'm about as real as it gets and as authentic as it gets for myself. And so my honest and integral follows up with, we don't filter or shield you from the truth. We're in this process with you and become part of your journey. My next one is fierceness. It should say sassiness, but fierceness I felt like was a slightly better word. And it says, we will fight for your recovery in an active and guiding manner. In us, that you have an invested, all hands on deck partner. Value. We take the role of helping you succeed in your recovery process incredibly seriously and offer world-class service, attention, and care to ensure that we accomplish precisely that. The one thing that goes with this value is I can't do things for you. I can only help you by providing you information, and then you need to do what you have to with it. But that's where my value, I over deliver in my value. And my final one is simple and consistent. The road to lasting and full recovery is paved with simple actions that are carried through a consistent process. So those are my 5 core values that I carry into my business.
I
Are
think
you
this is
are
very
you open to
important.
sharing yours?
Yeah, because I'm still in the place where I'm figuring out what they are. So, what I've come up with, and I don't want to like leave and go get my book. I totally could have
Yeah.
brought it prior to us starting, but like what I love is like this is so important for modern yoga teacher. This is so important for like my personal life because we'll get into the core values in a minute, but I want to share this insight that's happened from like the running and then the doing the work, right? Coming home and just like running and figuring out, okay, this is why. Like, so have you watched Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares?
Yes.
So I've had these like insights of like, okay, running in this and then doing this work and then watching this show, right? So basically, people are in a shitty space. They have no money, you know, they're in debt, their business is being run into the ground, but so are their relationships because, of course, it's a shit storm, right? When we're in a shit storm or this is an opportunity to look at our shadows and come back into alignment. Most people don't see it that way. They run into victim, but like also I see myself as the nightmare kitchen. And I see like all of these, I don't want to say you, but like you and all of these concepts coming in as Gordon Ramsay. Because one of the things like what you're saying as your core values, I see those as yours, not just laser quit, because you will just fucking call me out on shit. Like without sugarcoating it, you'll just literally say this thing. And that's what I've seen with Gordon Ramsay. Like he goes in and he just witnesses. And then he says, what the fuck? Right now, if I see myself as like these restaurant owners that went in with all this passion and love, I used to say, I'm going to change the world with yoga. I'm going to change the world with yoga. And I just like, I know the teachings are, this is it. Like, listen, like it's changed in not only my life, but so many other people's lives. And I find that like being a yoga teacher's teacher is a way that that ripple effect can spread even more than me only teaching, you know, people. I'm teaching teachers to teach other people. So here I am with these high standards and these big goals. And here is 99% of the population. You're never going to make it. I don't believe you. You're full of shit. Yoga doesn't work. Like whatever the thing is. And then over time, you know, like not showing up for my ice bath, like not having core values, being out of integrity. Like I have become this fucking nightmare restaurant when Gordon Ramsay goes into the freaking cooler and sees that there's like rotten chicken and, you know, no
People are still gonna cook
labels,
it.
no date, like they've lost their integrity, you know, and then financially they are losing money. So they move from like providing high quality fresh ingredients to go to like frozen food, you know, and then they're doing stuff like cutting corners because they don't want to have like frozen food out ready to go. So then they'll quick thaw, which actually ruins the food. Like shit, I just feel so called out and so seen at the same time because he's also compassionate about like, I know how you got here and you need to love doing this again, otherwise get out of it. And that's where I realized like, oh shit, like and then I called it burnout because I'm so out of alignment, I'm so out of integrity that I'm putting so much energy in trying to feel like I'm in integrity.
So one of the other
Burnout.
things that I'm gonna bring up here is, so I'm working with this coach and everybody knows it. And Lynn and I talk about my coach and his stuff constantly. So I'll say something and then she'll do some research and I'll even like share my screen. If there's something that's like so powerful for me, I'll share my screen and be like, you need to watch this part of the video with me because it just hit me so hard. I know it's going to hit you. And so in that moment, there's this one that he's talking about doing marketing from your soul. And he asks if your client were a fly on the wall, if your client could watch you from a camera that literally follows you around all day long, would they, one, be inspired by you? And two, would they say, look at her doing everything she's telling us that she can do and help me do? And while I'm sitting there with it, I literally got this huge smile on my face because maybe I haven't been in integrity this entire time I've been doing this. I will admit to that. But right now, motherfuckers, I am in integrity. I am fully in alignment with everything that I am doing. And if you were watching me in a corner, you would literally be like, oh, did you see that? She screwed up. Oh, shit, she's fixing it. Like I was just telling Lynn, like I had a client who called and ripped a strip off one of my girls. And I have a tendency, I'm aware of this and it's something I'm working on, to get really defensive of my team when you come at them. Because they're doing the best that they can. They're treating you with the knowledge and experience that they have, and they're doing what they can with what they have. And so this lady came at my team member, and then she called me and was like quite upset and was like, just so you know, this all happened. And she's upset because the floors were dirty. And I was like, have you been outside? Like it's spring. Our floors are always dirty. I had my bookkeeper clean our floors It's tax season. Our floors were dirty in 5 minutes, and my bookkeeper sat there tapping her fingers on the desk and was like, when somebody left, she was like, nobody listens. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you have a sign that says, unless you enjoy cleaning the floors, take your shoes off. And nobody took their shoes off. And I was like, oh, yeah, sorry about that. And she was like, I'm just frustrated because it didn't stay clean. And I was like, don't clean it again. If people don't like that our floors are dirty, they should take their goddamn shoes off. So nobody was attacked in the bookkeeping side, but it was the laser quit side that one of my staff was attacked. And so then I got this email. So I responded to the email and I was a bitch. I'm 100% going to own it. I was a bitch. I was not a business owner. I was very emotional. I was very, what's the word, that subjective, I guess, because I was definitely not objective. I got so caught up in it that I was rude to this woman, and we went back and forth for a couple of emails. And then one morning I woke up and I was like, wow, Meridee, what is happening right now? And so if you guys had been the fly on the wall, you would have seen me do these things, but then you would have seen me take the day after and write her an apology email owning my shit, saying, I am very sorry for my behaviors. I don't normally respond in this way. I guess I get defensive when I feel my team is attacked, though that's no excuse for my behavior. I apologize. And my real care here is that your husband gets clean. And I would like to move forward from here in a much cleaner way. Of course, she responded to all my nasty emails, but didn't respond to my kind email. Totally okay. Totally okay. But you will see me screw up because I'm human, but you'll see me own it. And if I didn't see it, I would have probably told Lynn about this and been like, this bitch. And she would have been like, and how did you respond? And then I would have had to been like, like a bitch. And then she would have said, and what she said to me today in a conversation, said, but what would love do, Meridee? And I was like, not that, definitely not that. So, and then I told her, but I've already fixed this or what I feel could be done to fix this by apologizing to her and apologizing for my behavior. That's part of my core values, though. That's that integrity. I didn't stick to that. I fell out of it by being angry and upset with this woman because she was angry and upset. I'm working very hard at not meeting people's energy and instead always coming at it with love, coming at it with a softer edge, trying to be the kinder person, even if you're being the biggest asshole on the planet. I didn't do that this time. When I caught myself, I swapped my position and stepped back into integrity and did what I had to do. So if you were a fly on the wall watching me, I would hope, one, yeah, you were inspired because you see me screw up and then you see me fix it. But I would also tell you that I am doing all the things that I tell you you can do.
Right. Right.
So I feel like that's a major level in here.
Yeah, definitely. And that leads me to start looking at my behaviors and what's important to me. So I started looking at like how I coach. And while I'm looking at these core values for Colynn, because Colynn is revamping Friction, and then Colynn is now, rebranding Modern Yoga Teachers. So there's a lot of like, okay, I look at Modern Yoga Teachers' core values, and I appreciate that because even as I was talking to Ryan one day, he said that one of the core values is that like yoga is accessible to everybody. So it had them, create like the main program, the mastermind, $10,000. So from that's not accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
Right. Especially when most yoga teachers identify as broke and spiritual. So then, he did a one-off that gives you access. You just don't get access to all the coaching and stuff like that for like a couple $100, and you can pay it in payments and like as long as you want, you know what I mean? So that made it more accessible. So it's like this whole shitstorm also had like a sweet storm, like a sugar storm. Yeah, where I can be like, oh, look at how Ryan's showing up and saying this thing, and it's like it's moving his actions. And so what do I do? Well, that's one thing, like being impeccable with your word is so important to me. And okay, authenticity, sure, remember I said, but like really being real. I think it's the same thing, but for me, be real as opposed to being nice, because that's one of the yamas, right? Sacha, be truthful. And there's a difference between being real and being nice. And I'd say like as Canadians, as a cultural thing, we are kind of like taught to be nice, not to be real.
I feel like this is where I always feel like a black sheep, is because I've always kind of just been me. Yeah. No matter what. And people love me or hate me for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
But
what I've learned over the time is just to accept that I am loved by certain people and they love me hard.
Yeah.
And then I'm fucking hated by others.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. And that's the part where I've really struggled because I want everybody to like me. Right? Everybody. I mean, and that's back to the mindset shit. Right? So be real, be impeccable with your word. I think honesty is huge, you know, even as I've looked at relationships and relationship agreements. And I think honesty and transparency is one of the most important ways to keep the relationship strong and or end it so it doesn't have to keep going. Right? Like,
Yeah.
so being real. So I've just noticed how, like, even when I've become aware of, and I have discovered more, but I can't think of like, oh, well, integrity and alignment. Alignment, like in general, alignment in the fact that like I practice what I preach, and then also alignment in fucking literally physical body in the yoga practice. Right? So I'm seeing how like, yeah, okay, that a lot of people have these core values. And when I read like what ChatGPT said my core values were, I'm like, yeah, I love that. And, you know, also for me, alignment is integrity. It's integrity in the body and a posture so that you don't hurt yourself, but it's also, you know, integrity in practicing what I preach and doing what I say. So there's like a lot of places where I'm seeing, as soon as I started noticing this and then even calling it out in my personal life, I'm watching people start to fall off. Because one of the things that I heard in a video was like, even if you, what's the message you're giving? So if you have a core value of integrity, and then this is a perfect example because it hit for me. And then I take on a client that doesn't actually fit in my ideal client. So now I'm out of integrity. But why would I take on that client? Because financially, I am kind of like grasping from a place of lack. So then I bring in someone because of external influence and I am out of integrity. So I'm literally sending a message to the universe. I have no integrity.
Bring you someone out of integrity.
So then the client is, I mean, is a fucking nightmare. Like, now I know that that's a learning lesson, and I know that that's a total personal responsibility thing. I literally just said like the person's a nightmare, and that's not true. They're not a nightmare. The situation has personally been nightmarish. But this has like been a learning lesson, and I can come back to my core values as a way that I show up in either letting go of the client, having a conversation about this because I need to be real, right? So then I'm like, oh shit. And literally in my business life, people have been falling off. Like mutual agreements are found to like end this coaching relationship. Some scholarships or mentorships have been released. Like it's been, and I
things
feel
that
myself
are not aligned.
Yeah, they're falling away. And it's not even dramatic right now because I was like, oops, like, and then got back into integrity, started being real, having hard conversations, being honest and transparent. And I'm just like, holy shit. That's why then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I'm a nightmare kitchen on Gordon Ramsay.
Oh my God, it's me.
So this is why I've been finding that core values. I'm like, oh shit, I can't believe I didn't do this work all these years ago. Also, thank you for this moment of like recognizing how important they are. And then for me to be present and aware to all the things that are coming out of, you know, following the instruction.
Yeah. It feels so good. And I'm not gonna lie, like having those core values, I knew what my personal core values were, but to like implement them, because he asked me like to create these core values. This was a long time ago. And when I went to go do it, I was like, well, I know what my core values are, but what do I want my business to be? And he's like, your core values. And I was like, well, how does that apply? And he's like, well, how do you treat your clients? And how do you want them to know you're going to treat them? He's like, this is almost like a warning. This is who you're getting yourself into.
Right.
But in like the deepest way, which is why, you know, trust, integrity, all of these things are these major pieces of who I am need to be implemented into my business. And then the people who work with me, I'm going to say not even for me, the people who work with me need to also feel like they're going to be that honest. And the ones who are like, you know what, I feel like I can't call people out on their shit, I'm okay with it. Because when you come, when they're doing the coaching side of it, they'd rather just pass that on to me because they're like, there's so much passion in you. I see that you're going to be more of service to them than this. I'm so happy giving the treatments and helping people change their lives. But when it comes down to that coaching side of it, I don't have that same passion or drive. And so many people are like, also, I feel like if I were to say the same thing that you just said to someone, they'd be like, wow, that chick's a bitch. Whereas when you say it, they're like, oh, okay. And it comes off a different way, or it has a different way that I'm able to affect people in the way I say it. And it's not that it's an intentional thing. It's just that maybe because my core and the work that I've done is that I'm coming from a place of love. When I'm coming at you and you know I'm coming at you and calling you out on your shit, I'm not calling you out on your shit because I'm pissed at you or it's going to benefit me. I'm calling you out on your shit because I need to make sure that you're for my core belief is being authentic. And when I'm seeing it, I need to call you out on it. And especially because I know that we have a lot of aligning core values, you're going to want to be called out on that, regardless of how much it pisses you off. Right?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's interesting.
Yeah, this is why I have agreements too. And so now I've just started to see how like, okay, I've been doing some of this work. I've just been really unaware of it. And now that I've shone the light on it, I'm like, oh, this is how it works. And immediate like reward in all the areas because I'm up leveling in all the things that I was worried about in the beginning. You know, oh, I better take this client. Otherwise, I'm worried, you know, in a few months, I might not be able to do something. And that's not helpful. What's my core value? If I look at that, then I come back to like, no, I'm going to say no. And then what happens next is like the next client is like the client. And then they're showing up. Like I literally have this just signed a new client and they're fucking so open to the work. And it's just like blowing their minds. So it reminds me as I'm talking to this person, what's my ideal client? Because going back to that, like who I want to work with, I like working with beginners.
Interesting.
I really do, because these concepts are so mind-blowing to them. Yet my experience of people that have been in spiritual community for a long time is they're so fucking good at spiritually bypassing. Right? Example, we get in an argument, they're like, you're projecting. It's like, oh my God. Okay, yes, maybe. Also, so are you, motherfucker? Like, be real.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? That's not how it also, okay, great. Yes, I'm projecting and I'm in your life as a way to really hit the rough edges so that you can do some work with your personal responsibility. Like, this is me. But maybe I'm just like fucking sick of like doing that constant. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. Like with the people that I work with that I love working with, I'm like, look.
Yeah.
And they're like,
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So maybe it isn't even a beginner. Maybe it's more about being coachable.
You know what I think it is? Because I've learned this over the last year. And it's now part of like my written statement about the life I'm creating. I help people who are willing to help themselves.
Yes.
Because if you're going to come into any of the services I offer, whether it's my coaching services or my laser quit treatment, you need to understand that it's like going to a gym or paying someone to work out for you and expecting your body to look better.
Yes.
Like that's the one that comes back to me over and over is no one goes to the gym and leaves that day and goes, can I have my money back? Because I'm still fat. Like, no, you need to go to the gym and you need to take consistent steps that are difficult.
Yeah.
And lifting that same weight over and over and over, the weight didn't get lighter, your muscle got stronger.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing with everything you do in your life, your personal work, your work, your addictions, your everything you do in your life. And it's repetition is going to make it so that you don't have, so it doesn't, the same weight doesn't feel heavier. You've just gotten stronger, which means now you need to pick up a heavier weight, which is you leveling up.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And I'll tell you from experience, and my coach my fitness coach calling me out one day and saying, why are you showing up at 85%? And I was like, I got pissed, like arms crossed, all the things. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh, I show up everywhere like this, like everywhere in my life. I show up at 85% because I've never really had to try. And then he's like, okay, how can you show up at he's like, even at 90%? And I was like, for my own well-being, I want to show up at 95%. He's like, I'm only asking for 90, but you show up how you feel. And I was like, well, 90 isn't good enough. So 85% is definitely not good enough. And now I'm showing up at 95 to 100% in everything. And it did take me time to roll into that, because it started with
you had to
at the gym.
build.
Yes, it started at the gym, and then it started in here, and then it started here. So now it's literally, I go to the gym. I also do it when I'm in my bookkeeping business. And then on top of that, because I'm at the busiest time of the bookkeeping business, I'm also still 100% showing up for Laser Quit in all the ways that I possibly can. I'm still creating content. I think she's frozen, you guys. Oh, there she is. But I'm showing up now everywhere I am not capable of anymore at this moment. There's other days where I'm like, I still have that 5% left, and I'm okay with that. And the days I show up at 85%, I'm like, ooh, it was one of those days, hey? But also remembering, same as with the gym, they say that 80% of your workouts are going to be mediocre. 15% of your workouts, or no, 10% of your workouts are going to be garbage. And the other 10% of your workouts are going to be fantastic. So understanding that there is a compromise of all the things. And if I can show up even 50% of the time, great, like excellent, and then have the other part broken up between shitty and okay, then I'm doing the best I can. And that is fantastic. And of course, just doing the best that you can do and what you're capable of in this moment.
Yeah.
But those core values will drive us to do better. And aligning your core values with your goals, with your dreams, with your aspirations, those things I feel like are like literally game-changing, life-changing moments.
Right. So I think that's a perfect mic drop. And then, one of the pieces of feedback that we get is like, also we're introducing these ideas, but like, how do we implement them? So what I can share on the last little bit is like, what really hit for me is like, first and foremost, the questions of like, what are my convictions? What are some hills that I will die on? And what is not for sale? Like those hit me really strong. And then what I started to do was look around in the way that I live, like my relationship agreements, and then also how I coach people. So while I'm doing all of this, I'm taking notes and also formulating the blank phase business building project, like how you yourself in how many phases can, like create a successful business. That didn't come out clear, but like what I'm trying to say is, as I'm becoming aware of my own core values and how I do things, I'm also creating the revamp on the Kick-Ass Yogapreneurs course.
Yes.
So that I can launch that in June. And it's this many phases, because I'm looking at how I coach people. I'm looking at how, well, we got to look at mindset. And then another core value, personal fucking responsibility, right? Looking in the mirror and taking like account for that. So I'm seeing, oh, like that's a huge piece of also what I teach.
When we learn, we can share that with the other
Yes.
people that we're trying to work with.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And if my ideal client is it, so this has been like a monumentous explosion, like a volcano that's really just like sparked back. Yes, my intrigue, my passion, my love, and I needed it. And then of course, everything happening with modern yoga teacher, and even just Meridee and I were talking about, like, I'm looking back at a Slack channel conversation, and it says July 19th, 2022 was like the last conversation had. Like, fuck, my birthday is July the 18th. Like, there's no more way this could be any more divine than it has been in the way that it's worked out, and therefore everything
well, not
moving
just that,
forward.
but can I also just put in there that like it's so interesting because as we're having these conversations, Lynn will be like, this Slack conversation. I'd never heard of Slack until my coach had it. So my coach's stuff is all on this Slack app. So then she says it and I'm like, ooh, another thing that's like aligning the two of us, because her certain programs she's going through have the Slack. Certain programs I'm going through have the Slack. So even though it might mean nothing to you, there's, in my opinion, and I believe Lynn believes this too, there's no such thing as a coincidence.
No.
These are divine intervention, divine moments telling you, hey, just so you know, hey, this is why you're here. Hey, keep doing what you're doing because everything is aligning the way it's supposed to.
This is, so back to yoga. This is the veil of illusion. The veil of illusion is the fact that like everything's fate or coincidence, because then you don't have to take any fucking responsibility for anything. Yep. Right? The veil comes down and you're able to see that this is so divinely orchestrated. You couldn't do as good of a job as what is currently like being done. And that's a way I remind myself all the time. I'm not in control of the universe, because if I was, everybody would be naked. Okay, first. And then, you know, like it's a little more ego driven how I would run the universe, and it would definitely be like how it would affect me. But every once in a while I get a glimpse into how this one thing that happened to me and affected me this way affected this person this way, this person,
the ripples.
Like, it was a whole chain of events. And though it wasn't great for everyone, like, okay, here I catapulted there and that person like launched down, but I also see like how a year later that launch down was exactly what was needed for them to launch back up. Like,
yes,
that veil of illusion down.
Yep.
Time to look around, because we know it'll go back up again. That's the motherfucker of it all. Yeah. Okay. I got on a rant, so we were gonna finish, and I love this conversation, and I appreciate it because being able to like look back and say these things out loud are really helpful. In the Prosperous Coach, Rich Litvin says, when you start to have imposter syndrome, what you need to sit down and look at is the fact that if someone had a lamp post and they went to the lamppost every day and they shared the events of the day and their feelings with this lamppost, the lamppost would be of benefit in their life. So you yourself are much better than a lamppost. And that's all that they needed was the lamppost. So fucking remember that.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Perfect.
Okay, well, thank you guys for joining us this week. And again, we do have some awesome upcoming guests in April coming into our podcast. But until then, we'll continue to bring our awesome content. Thank you for joining us, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks, Mir.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for joining us on this spirited journey today.
We hope you enjoyed diving into the world of self-improvement with us. Two sisters who found their own unique paths.
Remember, life is a tapestry of experiences, and it's how we embrace them that makes all the difference.
So whether you're on your yoga mat, exploring mindfulness, or simply navigating life's twists and turns, always keep that spirit and sass alive.
We are Colynn and Meridee Hlokoff, and we're here to remind you that happiness and abundance are within reach.
Stay connected with us on social media and keep those questions and stories coming. We love hearing from you.
Until next time, beautiful souls, keep doing the work, keep sharing your experiences, and keep living a life that's authentically you.
And never forget to add a little extra sass to your day.
Spirit and sass, always.